Blessings to you today. This is November 11th, Veterans Day, and I hope that you'll have a blessed day today. Speaking of the word blessed, it's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Blessings. I'm going to answer some questions that people have asked me over the last couple of years. And I think there's like 6. So let's start. What does being blessed mean to you, or in this case to me? And I'm going to answer it as honestly as I possibly can. Being blessed has lots of meanings. People who don't believe in God do live a blessed life. Not all of them, some of them. I mean, they seem to live a good life, right? Live long, have a good loving family and all that. So they might say they have a blessed life. Now that is completely different than being blessed by God. Being blessed does not mean you are going to live in a huge house on top of a hill with all the rich people, drive luxury cars and all that. Blessed means life is good. Whatever a good life means to you, that's very subjective, right? You can't measure being blessed by your wealth and materialistic gain. You know, some people like to say, "Oh, you know, he's such a spiritually good man, and God is blessing him." That might be true, might not be true. We'll see some of that later on. So let's go to the next question. What does it mean, or why do some people seem to be more blessed than others? Now, that isn't a good question. And again, we have to consider what being blessed actually means to you versus what it means to other people. Some want to own everything, and thus being blessed means having everything. To others, having a place to live, food in their stomach, staying warm and dry, and not really worrying about things is a blessed life. See, and it's based on subjectiveness, isn't it, right? But we have to be real here. Some folks are in better places than others, aren't they? Now think about that. Some people have more skills, more education. They have better interpersonal relationship skills, and so on. These skills put them in a position where they make more money and can afford those houses and those cars and trips and all that good stuff. And so when you look at them in envy, you say, they have such a blessed life. Is it God or is it them? You know? Being blessed materialistically is not necessarily connected to faith. Faith is the key word here, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Because see, I don't see a billionaire necessarily being more blessed by the Lord than myself, let's say. Do they have more? Oh, absolutely, of course they have more. But is that truly what a blessed life is? So let's go to the next question then. Since we used the word faith, how does one, through faith, receive blessings? It's fairly simple, and we tend to overcomplicate this in our Christian faith. Deuteronomy is very, very clear on how one will receive blessings from the Lord. He tells us through Moses that if we are obedient, that we follow his commands, then we will live a blessed life. This means, and this seriously, think about it, like 3,500 years ago or more, when God was giving this message to them, it will rain on your crops. Yeah, your crops will grow, your land will be fertile. Your livestock and your wife will be fertile. You know, it means you will have possession of your lands and you'll have good health and security. It doesn't say that you're going to live like on the top of the hill with all the rich people. It just says you're going to have a house, you're going to have food, you're going to have fruitful production in your crops and your livestock, and your wife's going to have many kids, and you're going to have health, and things are just going to be good. Whatever good means. There's not a quantity based on it, you know. There's a quality, but not a quantity. And what is quality? To some, it's living in a 5,000 square foot house. To others, it's a 1,500 square foot house. You know? If you have to live, if your happiness is pinned on 5,000 square feet, then I would say that's not faith-based. Do you have a 5,000 square foot home, and are you very faithful? Doesn't mean that God's blessing you with that 5,000. It means square foot homes. It means you simply did everything you need to do and earned the money to get that. You know. So let's go to the next question. And so, what do you mean by obedience? Because this is the tripping point. This is the stumbling block. This is the black hole of Christianity. Seems to me that Gentile Christians have an issue with this word obedience. They tie it together with the word legalism. These are two very different words. Legalism is when a man holds other men up to a certain biblical standard and forces them to live by that standard. Faith is not being forced. Faith is faith. You do it out of your faith, out of your love and stuff for God. Second, when men make up their own rules, regulations, and traditions and force others to live by them, claiming that God ordained it. That is legalism. Obedience is different. God says in Deuteronomy, love your Lord, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. And he adds to that to love others as you love yourself. Let me ask you this question. If you are loving your earthly parents, do you not obey them? You sure you do? Perfectly? Of course not. This is the same for God, our spiritual Father, our Creator. If we truly love him, how can we disobey him? And by disobeying him is what sin is. That's where sin comes from. We disobey when we allow our carnal desires to take over. Greed, sexual immorality, and so on. To teach people about the Torah, otherwise known as the law, and to follow it is what Jesus, aka God, tells us to do. In doing so, he blesses us. I mean, it's as simple as that. If we're obedient to God, we will be blessed. And our blessings are based on just how obedient we are to God. So someone that has asked me, are you blessed? And I would say, today, yes. And I cannot enumerate them all. Now, am I saying that I'm perfect or sinless? Oh, no, by no means. Not at all. Just that life is good, health is good, making ends meet financially, and there are many other things. But the point of the faith and the point of blessings is that I'm not working hard. We're not working hard at it. And sometimes things just happen. Call it miracles, right? Blessings simply come, and prayers are answered. Am I absolutely obedient? No. As noted, I still sin. I'm not perfect. But here's the thing. I try to live my life according to God's instructions. And notice that word, I try to live my life by God's instructions in the Torah. I am learning. So I'm not 100% Torah compliant. Maybe 50%, probably less. But I'm trying, And God sees that. God sees that I'm trying. And he knows I'm learning. He knows that I'm growing and moving towards that. And that wonderful word of sanctification, becoming holy, right? A little bit at a time. Got a long way to go. So in closing, somebody would ask, what is my advice to others? And my advice to others is simple. Stop listening to people preaching and teaching who are by ignorance leading people astray. Over 3,500 years ago, Hebrews began to create a man-made systematic theology, Judaism, in which man-made rules, regulations, and traditions became paramount over God's commands in some cases. And we see Jesus arguing with Pharisees over this. Over the last 1,700 years, Gentiles have done exactly the same thing with man-made systematic Christian theology. All you need to know is in the complete Bible, the Tanakh, the Old Testament, and the Brit Kadashah, can't say that, it's Hebrew, for the New Testament. Basically read it in context, not in bits and pieces that fit what you think is correct, but read it in context and let God, through his words, speak to you so that you can have a better understanding by yourself. You don't need a pastor, you don't need a Sunday school teacher, you don't need a Bible study leader, especially if you've been doing this for a long time. All you need is God's words. And with that, I pray that you will have a blessed day.